welcome in Lucky Lefty Podcast Network. I'm your boy, Shawn Davis at SV2 Mics. And this, of course, we've talked about it for about a week and a half. This is the launching of our first city podcast, Lucky Lefty Chicago, right here on Lucky Lefty Podcast Network. Joining me tonight, two very good friends of mine. We go back to the days where we all got into this business together. And from the looks of it, you can tell all of us are pretty darn successful right now. And we're feeling pretty good. This journey has been long and arduous. But when you get to a point, we shared some things before the show, it was well worth it. Not because of where we are, but because of the other smaller things in life that we've been able to experience in spite of that, man. So I want to welcome right here my dude, Kenneth Davis at That's Davis on Twitter and Instagram. He is the host of the Under Center podcast in NBC Sports Chicago, NBCS Bears. Go follow him right now. And then the anchor, my dude, Sports Zone Chicago, Shawn and Maya in the morning. None other than the super back, Shawn Sierra. You go follow him as well. Hey, we're here. We're talking Bears. That's the purpose of us coming on and talking about Chicago Bears because news broke this morning. Look, I almost woke my wife up this morning. Flat out. The phone went off with a notification around 6:30. I looked at it and I said, Adam Schefter, don't you do this to me. Don't you do this to me this early because the Bears, according to Adam Schefter, have received multiple offers before getting down to the combine for the number one overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. I don't want to rush into it because we'll get there because that is the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about tonight. But I want to start off by asking both of you gentlemen a question. Tonight's theme is you only get one shot. Ryan Poles takes over as the general manager of the Chicago Bears. He comes in. He has Justin Fields as someone he did not draft himself. And not only that, he has to work things to put himself and this organization in position for free agent marketing or the free agent market in 2023. They sit with what, $98.5 million in cap space? Right now, you have to be feeling pretty good about that. Thank you to Lovey Smith. That consultation check is in the mail for you, Lovey. We appreciate you. The work you put in during the last week of the NFL season. Absolutely. We love you. We love you, boy. We love you. We might put a statue up outside the new stadium for you. Real talk. Real talk. So the question we want to start with tonight. How much pressure is Ryan Poles under to get this right? Because everything is positioned. But Superback, how much pressure is he really under to get things right? You can't miss. You can't swing and miss with all of this sitting before you, can you?
You can, and that would be a bad thing. It reminds me of Loteria, the Mexican bingo, and there's a guy called El Atlas, Mr. Atlas, and he's holding the world on his back.
Yeah,
that's pretty much about the amount of pressure that Ryan Poles has. This is it. You know, you got the money, you got buyers, you got people who want it. You have the number one overall pick. You've got a stud quarterback. Everything's there for you. All you need to do is get some good signings in free agency. Okay, you have to be very shrewd in the draft. You know, my thought was this: you have to convince the Houston Texans, which might not be very difficult, that Indianapolis really likes Bryce Young, and they're really, really looking to get that number one pick because for those of you who don't know, Indianapolis and the Houston Texans are in the same division. So if they leapfrog them with the number one spot, they get the quarterback that Houston wants, well, then Houston is not going to be not very happy. So if you can do that and get Houston to switch, say, okay, cool. Now, in my opinion, now you go and you talk to Indy and be like, hey, I got Carolina, who just got their new head coach in Frank Reich. You know, they're going to want a quarterback. They got Vegas, and there's one more, Atlanta. Those three teams,
right?
They need quarterbacks too. And they're talking about, you know, and they're giving me a haul because they're so far down. So it's gonna be we're gonna find out how shrewd Ryan Poles is, because he's got a lot of pressure. Because if all this, everything's lining up, all right, all the stars are lining up like an 05 for our White Sox. They all lined up.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what? If he screws the pooch, so to speak, it's not going to be a long stay for him here in Chicago.
You know what? I have to look at ownership in their history. And there's only been one time where they were so upset about new hires that they switched them out. And that's Phil Emery and Mark Trestman, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they're usually stand pat. I mean, look at how many chances that Ryan Pace had, right? And Ryan Pace actually got to draft another quarterback.
Yeah,
like, in all fairness, he actually got to draft another. Like the owner was like, yeah, use those picks. You screw up, I'm gonna let you do something that I shouldn't let you do nothing with what you've done in the past, right? So to a degree, I think, of course, there's a lot of pressure, but I also want to say this. I think because the connection has been severed to a degree between ownership and Ryan Poles, now that adds a layer of pressure, because his boss initially was the ownership, and now he has a boss who everything you said about Justin is the same with Kevin Warren when it comes to Ryan Poles. It was like, I didn't hire you. You know what I'm saying? I don't have this connection to you. So I think that will be a place where I would think the pressure could come from, particularly someone who's been in successful organizations in the past. So they know better than ownership ever has. We've always wanted a football. Sean, come on, how long have I been with you? Get rid of Ted Phillips, right? And get a football person. There's finally someone who has a football acumen as team president here, and that may be where a lot of the heat could come from, because those two gentlemen didn't come in here together. If you can, that was a good one too. I love you. If you can get both of those teams, oh my. We're not just start building the Lovely statue. We're about to put Ryan Poles' statue out there.
Yeah, we would.
If you could finesse, and my only problem, and I know this is about the pressure on Ryan Poles, but it's to what you said, Sean, is, and I said this on the center. Maybe I'm talking to Josh, but anyway, what's the schism for the Houston Texans between CJ Stroud and Bryce Young? Is it closer to this, or is it closer to this? Because the threat of, and you said it, Nathan's saying it too, the threat of, you have to play that gentleman 2 times a season, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just not like, we wanted to draft Peyton Manning, but the Colts drafted him, and we're in San Diego, so it's not like we see the Colts like that. You know what I'm saying? Unless perhaps we're in the playoffs. It's not like that. No, this is a team that you're going to be reminded every year that you, and don't think they're both close enough to where they can make a move to get Bryce Young. Right, mm-hmm. Like this isn't like one of these teams are at 7, 8, or 9. No, we're talking about 4 and 2, right? And someone's gonna look at you. Chris Ballard already is over a barrel. Let's be honest. All right, Jim Irsay was like, give me this. He's not the general manager right now. He's giving advice. All right, so you already know. And if you could just get a haul, that's the thing. But also, it's the fear of, and I guess we'll learn what Ryan Poles places value on. All right. Is it just is it quantity, or is it you're at a certain place in this draft where there's a fall off when it comes to the ultra impact player? You need a lot of them. Right. So that's as far as the pressure. I think there's a lot of pressure because no one thought they was going to get the first pick. I think we all at the beginning of the year was like, man, if they get the 7th pick, I'm straight. Then towards the tail end of the season, we was like, man, they can land the 4th pick. Man, we're good. Mm-hmm. And you said, Lovey, the great gentleman.
He is a gentleman and a scholar.
A gentleman and a giver in the greatest sense of the word. Lovey helped us out tremendously to where now, man, Ryan Poles, and now I'll end it on this. And Sean kind of alluded to it, I think. Man, we're just not used to winning and get it working out here. Yeah. We're an abused fan base. So the other shoe drops all day long. I think, look, all 3 of us are White Sox fans. I was complaining about like what happened, right? And I won't get into that, but that's still you see promise and it's like I saw a turn, and it's like I forgot I'm in Chicago. All right, that was it. That was my spiel. I'll step off this soapbox.
Once again, Lucky Lefty Chicago, our initial show launching our city podcast off the Lucky Lefty Podcast Network. I have Kenneth Davis and Shawn Sierra with me. We're talking Chicago Bears. Why, you say? Because the news broke today via Adam Schefter that multiple teams have contacted General Manager Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears in an attempt to see what it would take to acquire the number 1 overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. And you talk about pressure. Successful people interpret pressure as opportunity. Mm-hmm. Ryan Poles has been upfront and saying, even in free agency, I might not be looking to spend all of this money. Like, yeah, we have tons of money to spend. I'm not sure I want to spend all of it. And he might be saying that. I want to thank Ryan Poles because I think he's been very shrewd as well. Because the stories you leaked about the Bears possibly wanting to go ahead and trade Justin, it was masterful. I don't know who you used to leak this information and get it on every major media outlet and show on the morning, afternoon,
night, overnight, weekends, everything.
Everything. Kenneth, you talked about it. We haven't seen the Bears operate like this.
Mm-mm.
We have not seen the Bears operate this shrewdly. And it might actually come to a head with them coming out of this with everything that they need to turn things around. Not turn things around and get to the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about realistic expectations on the back end of the show. But we're talking about pressure. I think one of the things that you both touched on, and I said this to someone on Twitter when they were talking about Ryan Poles, and I was like, Ryan Poles really just needs to sit back and watch Houston and Indianapolis battle. That's it. You talked about it, Kenneth. Man, do I want to let Indianapolis get Bryce Young? You know, D'Amico Ryan's the new head coach. He's an Alabama guy. Kenneth, you know. Does he want his Alabama guy? Does he want his fellow Crimson Tide quarterback?
He should.
Is Nick Saban on the phone with D'Amico? Like, hey, make sure you take care of my boy. There's a lot going on, a lot of jostling going on here. Let me tell you when I knew it was about to hit the fan. When I saw that Anthony Richardson was getting love and people were talking about him jumping into the top 10, I said, it's happening. It's happening. The quarterbacks are getting pushed up. The battle is about to start, and the Bears are about to get big-time offers. Superback, you said it. 2, 4, 7, 8, 9. You have 5 teams in the top 10 that are going to peddle offers to the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
This, you talk about opportunity, that's exactly what sits before Ryan Poles. And if he's anything like Brent Veach, Brent Veach got rid of the most dominant, impactful wide receiver in the NFL, probably next to Devontae Adams. Definitely the most dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get rid of him. We'll drop some other people, and then I'm gonna get this whole draft class. They gonna start. We're gonna start my whole draft class, and they're gonna get us to the Super Bowl. Don't worry about it. If Ryan Poles knows to identify talent throughout the draft and do that along with this free agent market and doing things and spending shrewdly and wisely, I think he's going to take advantage of this opportunity. And I think the Bears might become next year's Detroit Lions of 2022. I really think the opportunity is there. But it starts with, this is my question, free agency or draft? What's more important for you guys?
Draft.
For this year. You rocking draft? Because long term, I would say draft.
Yeah, draft.
I think free agency is going to. Well, then I guess I'll counter that. I think free agency, because that's going to let us know how we're going to maneuver in the draft. You know, because if you can get Taylor Lewan just got released from the Titans. I like that kid. I like that man for 2 years, maybe 3. Yeah. Okay, and my thought process is this: if you can go get the line, you can go get me 2 tackles that are starting. All right, guess what? I ain't got to worry about it. I'm good on the offense. So now guess what my first 4 picks, except maybe one of them might be a wide receiver. But other than that, 4 out of my first 5 picks are defense.
Are you telling us we need 2 starting tackles?
I mean, you're right, but I think someone has decided that someone has already got one of those spots. Unfortunately, let me leave with that. Unfortunately,
I agree with Braxton Jones. Here's my thought though, is like, Poles is a former offensive lineman. Yeah. Ian Cunningham, the assistant general manager, is a former offensive lineman. So my thought process is this: look, Braxton Jones, you did good last year. All right, you just had one problem, and that was with the bull rush. All right, if people try to swim and rip and speed you, you were able to handle all that, and that's great. Okay, Alex Leatherwood, you're the Outland Award Trophy winner. Someone gave up on you after a year. You had mono. First of all, who the hell gets mono in 2023? But I digress. But he lost 25 pounds. He lost strength. He lost speed. He lost quickness. He lost explosiveness. All right, you don't become an Outland Award Trophy winner for nothing with lack of talent. So go get me 2 offensive tackles that are starting. Alex Leatherwood, Braxton Jones, go get them jobs if you want them. So now we got straight up competition, and we know the guy who got the contract, who got penciled in as starters. They're gonna be like, no, these guys are hungry. This guy started last year, and that guy was a first round draft pick. He wants to start. So now you have the best thing you can have in life, but on a football team is competition. And if you build up that offensive line for Justin Fields, Lord have mercy, because we saw what he did when he didn't have an offensive line. Right. Imagine if he does have an offensive line where he can sit back and pick people and hopefully pick apart defenses, and hopefully EQ St. Brown doesn't drop passes, and penalties get called when people get pulled down on third down, a whole bunch of craziness. But now it makes that offense a lot more dangerous, because he can sit back there. We've seen him do it in college where he picked people apart. So when people say, "Oh, Justin's got to work, he's got to become a better passer," no, he doesn't. All right, you saw what he can do. He 2 years at Ohio State, college football playoffs, national championship game in those 2 years, and he picked jokers apart. What did he have? He had a great offensive line. He had great wide receivers. Get him that offensive line. Get him 1 or 2 more, at least one number 1 receiver. And sit back and say, go do your magic, Papa, and see what he does.
Yo, when you think about the 4 receivers he had in that college football playoff, it's almost a joke. You're talking about Chris Olave and Jigba Smith, who's going to be a first-round pick this year. Garrett Wilson, offensive rookie of the year. And then he had my man that transferred eventually to Alabama, was drafted in the first round by the Lions. You're right. Like, get him talent, especially talent that can line up with his big arm, because they have great speed on the outside. Like, don't just go and get him any type of receivers. Yep. Get him receivers that can complement what he does best, which is the deep ball. Like, play action, deep ball, running game, and get him involved in the running game. I'm right there with you, Superback. I think, everyone that jumps on Justin, but I do agree with the young people that stopped him at the gas station right there on Roosevelt. Like, man, we love you. You're a great player. We just need you to work on your accuracy just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Get rid of that ball. And get rid of that ball.
Yes, definitely get rid of the ball.
You know what he should do?
Live to fight another day. Live to fight another day.
Yeah, throw that sucker in the first or second row. One of the things that I think the one of the biggest things that we're overlooking, and a lot of people may not recognize it, is the last 3 or 4 games of Velus Jones and how important he's going to be moving forward. Because if you go get a number 1 receiver, so this guy's going to be running the full route tree, all right, as a pure number 1, whoever it is you get, all right. Then you got Chase Claypool, who can also run the full complement of the route tree. So you got 2 guys who can go deep, and Darnell Mooney, he can go deep, but now he can go medium to intermediate, okay, 2 deep. Then you got Cole Kmet, who's going to occupy the middle. All right, this dude had a great year this past year, and hopefully he takes it up another notch this year. This is all working out with Justin Fields in the offseason. Where does that leave Velus Jones? That leaves Velus Jones exactly where Tyreek Hill was when he first got to the NFL. You get him in the ball in crossing routes and say, catch me if you can, because you're worried about wide receiver number 1, whoever that's going to be, running his routes. You're worried about Chase Claypool. You're worried about Cole Kmet, who had 7 touchdowns. We can't cover everything. Oh, and you got this fast dude over here with person speed, getting the ball in stride. Catch me if you can. That's going to be a really, really nice wide receiver room. If we can get that number 1 receiver, because I love the confidence that Velus Jones gained at the end of the year. It did wonders for him, but it did wonders for his teammates too, trusting him, Justin Fields in particular, trusting him, saying, okay, man, all right, I see what you got. Now I feel more comfortable throwing you the ball. So if he could just dump it off to him for, literally a quick slant, a quick crossing route, a quick hitch, man, that's going to be very, very, very dangerous.
Hopefully. because I mean everything ain't gonna work out.
No.
I hope. You know, everything you said about Valus is correct. I think that was a nice way to go into the offseason on an upswing, and when you were looking like perhaps the biggest bust in the draft of Brian Poe's first draft, which is still where he took you at. It's more around Poe's and kind of its own Valus, because, and then also us being fans, everyone doesn't hit right away. People hit at different times. You know, so looking at reps being hurt. I'm concerned with Chase Claypool. I was all for it. And again, we need time. But I mean, again, the Steelers traded him away. You know what I'm saying? And if like the Steelers aren't just, they don't be just give stuff away out here in the streets. You know what I'm saying? But I also want to take a minute to say something, because you brought up Brett Veach, you both have mentioned Tyreek Hill. And I feel like we'd be remiss right now if we didn't take a second to, especially for all those people that was going with the Eagles, to root and be happy for baby go Patrick Mahomes, my guy. You did it. I just wanted to say that right here. God, give baby goes.
Look, let me tell you something. Everyone that watches us every day, all the Notre Dame fans, all the Chicago fans that watch us each and every day, they will tell you, I get on Malik's nerves. You know, Malik is a Cincinnati kid. He's an Ohio kid.
Okay.
So, you know, Malik all season was just leading up to it. You don't want 9 to come through. You don't want 9 to come through again. Already done beat you 3 times. Uh-oh, your boy hurt his ankle. You mean to tell me he got to face 9 with a hurt ankle? And I just sat back and didn't say a word. I didn't say a word. I said, keep talking. Keep talking. And when he beat 9, I said, oh, Jalen, we gonna get him too. We gonna get him too. I said, I'm gonna hate it because I like Jalen.
Okay.
But if he has to be the one, he's the one. He's
So
the
be
one.
it.
So be it. Perfect ending to this fairy tale story that is the baby goat, Patrick Mahomes. I said, I know people don't like change. They don't like the fact that the Tom Brady era is over. But it's over. It's a new king in town.
It was long enough.
King in town. That's okay, but it's over.
Oh,
it's over.
Everything is temporary, especially in the NFL. It's just happened to be a lot longer temporary than most.
You're right. I give you that. And we spew no hate. There's no hate in me for Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady to me is fantastic, and he was blessed. Because as a big time athlete, him and Kobe to me are the biggest blessings when it comes to athletes. They came in young and they were able to go to great teams and win as they became the players they were going to become. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Patrick Mahomes went to a great situation as well.
Probably the best
as a young
situation
player
of all of them, yeah.
And I think he is still getting better as a quarterback. We know the talent that he is, but he's getting better as a quarterback, as a leader. And I think that's what you saw when he lost Tyreek Hill, and he had to lead in different ways, but still put up the same production from a yardage and point stand better. Absolutely. So that's
what makes you great.
Yeah.
That's what makes the great ones great, because you know you could always rely on Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Right. You knew you could. So the great one's like, okay, I don't have that to fall back on, but I got this guy. And the thing that he does is he understands, which is phenomenal. He understands what each one of his receivers does well. And they stick to those types of routes. Okay. So you're not asking certain guys who, you know, to run deep routes or post routes that they're not really
you're not
Juju to do that because he's a little up in age. But you want Juju on that 3rd and 8 to get you 8.5, 9 yards, and he'll do it. All right, so you
want Scanlon to run that go.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Scanlon was like huge against the Bengals.
Yes.
Dude.
Yes.
Huge.
So that goes
Super Bowl. Here comes Juju in the Super Bowl. And Scanlon does nothing. But it's like, yo. And then you find a Pacheco late in the draft. Brent Veach. It's just like the organization. When you get great players to go to great organizations, and hopefully that's what the Bears are becoming. A great organization with a great young quarterback, and you'll start to see success as the roster gets better. Hopefully that's what we're trending to as that team from up north descends to hell All I care.
Yeah, they do.
I hope they lose 12. I hope they keep going down as the Bears ascend.
Jordan Love. Jordan Love. Here's the one thing that we're gonna have to do to stay or to become a great organization. The system is going to have to stay the same. Okay. Now it can morph depending on different players, because look at the Patriots. How many coordinators they lose? Romeo Crennel,
right.
McDaniel, Charlie Weiss, all them guys, and guess what? They didn't skip a beat because the system that they kept was the same. How many little short 5'9", 5'10" white dudes did Tom Brady throw to and have them catch touchdowns? 5, 6. Amendola, Edelman. There's one on the other one. All same dude. Different year, different name, same dude. But they did the system was the same. They went out and got guys who fit that system. So if Luke Getsy, say he has a good year with Justin Fields, well, then obviously you know what's coming next. Calls for a head coaching gig. So now what you got to do, okay, so the next guy, if he goes, because you never want to stop a guy from becoming a head coach, there's only 32 of those in the world. All right. Now Janoko, the quarterback coach, has to run that same system. And even if he runs the same system, he might have a little different philosophy on how to run the system. You can run the same thing, but just run it differently. But at least the concept that everything will be the same. Because look, you think of all the quarterbacks, the great ones, they stay in the same system. You might have different coaches. And that's what's great about Mahomes, because Andy Reid ain't going nowhere. Andy Reid's calling the plays. He'll let someone, he'll let Nagy be the offensive coordinator. You ain't calling plays, homie. We ain't see that.
Baby Goat is about to rejuvenate Matt Nagy's career.
Yep.
Matt Nagy's going to be interviewing for jobs like next year.
Unreal.
After being the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, you might be right. So if we do that, though, man, we're good. We're good. And Janoko, the quarterback coach, if Getsy's gone, stays, man, because you don't have to teach this to people. You don't have to worry about the only one who has to learn it are the new draft picks, the free agents, the signing. You know what I'm saying? You have a small amount of people who have to learn this offense, this defense, these special teams systems, and you can continue. You don't have to teach them. You can coach them now. Much easier. Great. And you see, just great organizations keep the same system. All right. Different coaches may come and go. They keep the same system, and especially the quarterback position. Man, it's going to be good. I'm telling you, most people, I can't believe how much people talk so much negative stuff about Justin Fields. I'm like, you guys are just nuts. Just watch and wait. Watch and wait.
I have an Alabama dude here next to me at the top of the screen. For all the Notre Dame fans that might be in here along with Chicago Bears fans. But I love them. That's how you love somebody, but they root for the ops. You know what I'm saying? I love this dude, man. But it's like I know he roots for the ops, and then sometimes I can't say anything because I'm like, damn, they're so good. Gosh darn it, they're so good. Even this year, I want to nitpick a little bit, and I'm like, we're 9-4. I can't say nothing. I can't even mess with them. Even in a down year, they still got us. And then they send a darn PJ to South Bend and just flat out steal our OC. I'm like, man. I still love this dude, though. I still love this dude. So we identified 5 teams in the top 10 that legitimately could make significant offers to the Bears for the number 1 overall pick. Here's a tough question. Knowing all of the holes you have to fill on this roster, does Ryan Poles dare take the picks? Let's say Houston calls and say, we'll swap with you. We'll give you a 2nd or 4th from this year and our number 1 from next year to move up.
We don't want the other first-round pick, Sean.
The number 12.
I'm being too greedy. Okay, I got you.
No, you ain't. You hold all the cards, baby. You hold all the cards.
You're right.
You demand what you want.
You can shape it however you want. Let's say we swap. You get 12. If you get 12, I can't give you my 2nd.
That's what I was going to say. That's cool. You can keep your 2nd. You can keep your 2nd.
I'll give you a 3rd this year and our 1st.
I'm with that. I'm with that.
Hey, Indy, you better come correct.
Now, if Indy doesn't come better, right? You take the offer from Houston, you move to 2, but you're still in business
with Indy.
Why? Because now they're in the fight with the teams at 7, 8, 9
Yep.
for Stroud, Levis, maybe even Richardson.
Yeah.
I mean, I doubt if Richardson is taking that high, but here we go.
You never know.
This is the battle.
And you can also say that who's 3? Is Arizona? Yeah, Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, people are calling Arizona Indy.
A possibility.
People are calling Arizona.
Yeah.
7, 8, 9 are calling Arizona. If you don't jump with us, and we keep, and you don't trade with us, guess what? Guess who's? Oh, there's been a trade just before you're about to pick. You're gonna be mad as a mother Hubbard. Okay, so you may want to deal with us, the devil you know versus devil you don't know. Okay,
Absolutely. So that's why I was saying, like, even though there might be pressure on Ryan Poles, the backfighting that's behind him in the draft is really where everything is going down at, right? The question is, if he moves to 2 and someone comes up and says, we want to move up to 2, but you're going to have to move down to 7, which means it's going to cost you Will Anderson and Jalen Carter. But the haul that you can pick up from someone coming from 7 up to 2, 8 up to 2, 9 up to 2, do you guys think long term it's worth it? You could be passing over possible Hall of Famers.
2 generational talents
on the defensive side of the ball, right? I already know who my brother wants. I already know who my last name brother wants. I already know, right? It wouldn't be look at him. Look at him.
I'm coming up. You know what, though? I'll say this.
You're first, Kenny.
You're going to have another brother that was in the city with us, of course, with the bigs. We have Herb Howard. Herb was one of the first people on Under Center to say to go Jalen Carter over Will Anderson. And it's more of the fear of how often do you have a great defensive tackle? Like all of us are football guys, right? And I mean great, not he's good. And then how long are they in that window of greatness? It's really an oddity. Like, people still really don't give Aaron Donald his props. Aaron Donald's not supposed to be able to do that, and particularly be able to steal.
No, at his side, yeah.
That's irregular. Even what he does, the amount of sacks that he gets from an undersized defensive tackle, you know what I'm saying, consistently, it's ridiculous.
It's not doing fair, bro.
So that's where now it's usually we've seen that you can have a defensive end. Perhaps let's just say he's great for 7 to 8 seasons. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But even with the guys, that if I name some guys, I'm like, yeah, they were great. That window may have been 3.5, 4 years. So that's kind of where I juggle it. But also on Football Night in Chicago, I was hosting last week, and Adam Hogue from CHGO was one of the guests, and he's a Carter dude too. And just as far as system, and we all know system, of course, you would probably go with Jalen Carter, but and I know right now he's not hot name. I still got love for him, but man, sometimes. But Tony Dungy told me one time, right? And I asked Tony Dungy this, right? Because I was like, well,
you got a problem with Tony right now, bro?
No, listen, through thick and thin. I love me some Tony Dungy. And I tell people, like, when I talk to him, when I talk to Tony Dungy, I'll be like, listen, coach, I'm not going to say, or I may say coach, but I was like, because I don't like really even calling him Tony, because I mean, if you grew up in our households, like I grew up from a sports family. So they knew Tony Dungy way before I even really knew about Tony Dungy. But I'm talking about Vikings defensive coordinator, and it was like, when's he going to get a job? When's he going to get a job? I didn't even know he was a former player and had coached at the Steelers back in those days, right? I didn't know, you know what I'm saying, the Rooney Rule was for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was for Tony Dungy, right? But the point to really bring it all back to, we talked about his Indianapolis team because, yeah, they brought up Booker McFarland, but Booker McFarland was never Warren Sapp. Like, they traditionally didn't have that gap penetrator 3 technique guy. They had Freeney and Mathis, and Freeney used to get off the bus spinning. All right, like, you knew he was going to spin your ass into a damn turbine, but that's what they actually did it different from what he had done in the past when you're looking at with the Vikings, when you're looking at a John Randall, and then you're looking at a Warren Sapp. You know what I'm saying? So you can skin the cat multiple ways. If Jalen Carter can be is and I'm either one of these players, but if they can both have the same length as far as how great they are, I'm all in for Jalen Carter, to be honest with you, because it's a lot easier direction to go straight forward. You know what I'm saying? It's a shorter direction, I mean to say, to go straight forward than to come off the end, or if you've been a wide nine, you know, like, no, I'm affecting this play immediately if you have a stud defensive tackle. So it's one of those things where, and I'll say this too, to get to your question, I'm fearful of, well, okay, what if you just miss out on both of them and you think that the Murphy kid and, oh, I can get this guy, and they may be straight, but they're not great. And it's like, yo, we have a lot of holes, but you got to fill some of this up with game wreckers because it simplifies everything. Because and this also goes to what you're talking about, spending Ryan posting about spending all the money. They shouldn't spend all the money this offseason. They're not in the championship window yet. So what we're gonna have? We're gonna be hamstrung before we even get to the window because we got all these contracts on guys, and then these are free agent contracts. So these guys may not even be in the same window as Justin, depending on who you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying don't spend a large majority of it, but you're gonna miss on guys, one, in free agency and in the draft. Guys are gonna get hurt. It never be the same guy you thought you were gonna get. It's not even gonna be a thing. Maybe you'll be able to look at your medical staff as far as maybe messing up, but guys are just gonna get hurt. It's football, man. You know what I'm saying? We've seen guys that never was that guy, man. Remember he got hurt? In all fairness, and it's totally different. Remember the deep ball Carson Palmer used to throw before the ACL? Carson Palmer used to have the prettiest deep ball. I'm going to say he didn't come back. He still wasn't straight. He wasn't that guy before he had that knee surgery. All right? So that's kind of where I'm at as far as spending the cap wise. But as far as the draft, and you said how far to go down, man, listen, he would have to be a magician. If he is a true talent evaluator, I don't know that of Ian Cunningham and Ryan Poles, to be honest. Do I want them to be? Hell yeah. Plus, they black. You know what I'm saying? But I want mad success. But if I'm being honest to you, I don't have a long enough sample size to know what they value. I know they gave Braxton Jones a long strip, you know what I'm saying, to go out there. It was like, man, this is your job, but my man Tevin Jenkins is about to get traded. And, you know what I'm saying, platooning. And it's like, what? Right? So, I'm fearful, to answer your question, Sean, about going back too far. But if these men are what we would hope they are, experts at this, because this is something we've never had since Jim Finks, someone to really be an expert and to maneuver and not to be like, oh, I like your Toyota Corolla, you know what I'm saying? But no, I like this kid. Even if I don't like this aspect of him, he's not going to get in trouble. Bring him to I may not want to even bring him over to dinner, but I know on Sunday, this kid is going to wreck shop. You know what I'm saying? So it's a fear, because being a Bears fan and knowing that they miss a lot more than they hit, you want a sure thing, because for you, it feels like it takes some of that leeway of them missing out of it. So that's why I know why I have the fear. But we'll see. I mean, I would be fine, to be totally honest with you all, if they ended up moving twice. But I mean, even if they moved once and got a haul from Indy and they stayed at 4. And I've assumed Jalen Carter was going to fall to the Bears. So my Will Anderson thing is, I prepared myself. I'm like, yo, Jalen Carter's going to be there for. I hope he hit. I don't wish him first of all, I don't dislike Georgia. Let me lead with that. I dislike Kirby for letting Justin leave, because I always was like, dude, what is you doing? Do you want to win one of these and beat Nick Saban? You don't do that, right?
He had faith in Jake Fromm, baby.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what
you saw the quarterback he won with the last 2 years. Kirby believes he doesn't need a big-time quarterback with all the talent he has. So
yeah.
Okay.
I think 1 to 2 and 2 to 4 would be the best. If they can do 7, I would be okay with it. And this is it. I would like a haul of second-round picks this year. Give me a whole bunch of second-round picks this year. Okay. And yeah, you're probably going to miss out on Anderson. You're probably going to miss out on Carter. Okay. But if I can get a whole second tier of those types of players, and when we come in waves, like the drop off between the guys from the first guy to the second guy who are a tier below a Jalen Carter, if the drop off between those two is minimal at best, then I'm with it. Because I just want waves and waves and waves and waves. And what this one is more of a speed guy. This one's more of a power guy. And the different types of 3 techniques you can get. All right. And then there's a big pool of edge rushers this year as well. So you can get your edge rushers. But if you did that, I would like a bunch of 3 or 4 total second round picks this year. because I think there's going to be a lot more talent. Because let's not forget, this is the second year. Last year was the first year of the people coming out who had that extra year of eligibility from the NCAA. So that's why there was a lot more bigger talent pool, but still the same number of draft slots, which is why you get a Jack Sanborn as an undrafted free agent, because he's late in the draft. So you're going to have that same thing here, just not as many, I don't believe. So you'll still be able to get good, maybe late first round quality picks in the second round, because I think the talent pool is going to be pushed down because there's going to be so much more. So I want a big 3 to 4 second round picks this year if we can get it somehow. Okay. And then 2 or 3 firsts next year. So even if it's a second this year and a first next year, all right, cool. I'm good. Because now we get what we got with the seconds. We see where we're at the end of the year. And, oh, yeah, by the way, we still got 2 first rounders or 3 first rounders next year. We could package for a player if we identify a player, or we'll just, we got all that money. We'll go get those guys and draft them. So that's what I hope he does. Ideally, even if he goes 1 and 2 and 2, 4 and stays there, I'm cool with it. But if he can get to 7, 8 and they give him some second rounders, I'll be happy as a pig in slop.
So you talk about it. Now, we already gave 1 trade. So you have the Bears picking up 2 and 12 in that deal, right?
With Houston? Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure if moving back and adding picks and adding those second round picks can equal to, let's say, the Bears taking their pick of defensive players, right? Or even if they move to 4, like Kenneth, like you said, and they still get one of those defensive players at 4. Now they picked up maybe some second round equity and picks in both years. Probably have 3 at that point, 3 second round picks.
Man.
And then you have the 12th pick. Well, you're still getting a pretty good player that should be a starter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The question would be, because I think that would be out of range for Skoronski, who, look, man, there is no reason to go to Northwestern football games at all. At all. Ryan Poles was at, I think, 4 Northwestern games this year. So it's obvious that Ryan Poles has an affinity for Skoronski. Or I don't know who else. Right. Is he watching Evan Hall? Who else? Is he watching Evan Hall, who had a great Senior Bowl week? Evan Hall, the running back, had a great Senior Bowl week down in Mobile for the Wildcats. But, Skoronski, I don't think he drops down to the teens. I think he goes probably 7 through 10.
7. So now, I was going to say, if you get 7, that's what I expect for them to take.
Right. 7, if they drop down again to 7, like you said, that would be perfect. Then I'm saying, okay, you get those second round picks you talked about. You set up the beginning of your 24 draft as well. Kenneth, like you said, we're not ready to win right now. So now you stack another free agency on top of another big-time draft class. Now we're cooking with grease going into the 24th season. And we're setting things up perfect. At 12, what position rises to the top then?
You know what I would do? And I think Shawn's kind of hit on it. Also, too, real quick, when we keep talking about the amount of talent in this draft, because so many of these quarterbacks may be taken within the top 14 slots, it's knocking other people down too.
Bingo.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think if at 12, you have to look at it. I'm going to go defense, to be honest with you, because I still don't know if one of those receivers, you would kind of be maybe overslotting a receiver at that point. You know what I'm saying?
12?
I would say you go. Yeah, I would say go defensive end, because you have this is, we know this draft is full excuse me, of defensive end and cornerbacks. You know what I'm saying? So I would probably look at go defensive end at 12, in my opinion. But also, and Shawn, you kind of said it earlier about the draft predicting or telling us what they're going to do when it comes to the free agency when it comes to the draft. Part of the issue with this is who's on the market this year. We already know the receiver crop is bad, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But this will be a great year if you needed a defensive tackle, even though Deron Payne's looking like he's going to be off the list. But even if you went with an old guy like Hargrove for a few seasons, there's some guys, the kid Mount up in with the Denver Broncos. There's some guys out there that you could perhaps talk yourself into, and then that allowing you to go end. You know what I'm saying? But there's no defensive ends worth the type of cachet that are on the free agency market. And that's like, it'd be like, because then the Bears could really do whatever. If it was a situation where you were like, yo, either we end up with Will Allen or Carter it doesn't matter because we could take this player at end or this player defensive tackle in free agency, and then we could go best player available basically in the draft, but it isn't the type of draft for that. But I would say at 12, if you ended up in that, like, let's just say, so you got the 12th pick. Yeah, I would say to go with Shawn's wave things because let's think, look, the trenches are terrible here. This the only guy I trust gets hurt. So I got to say that in Tevin Jenkins, he gets injured, but I trust Tevin Jenkins. You know what I'm saying? He gets hurt. Their defensive line, they have no one of
none.
It's
not a soul.
And like Shawn, you talk about waves. We can't even get wave 1 out here yet.
We don't even got a kitty wave.
Right. Before wave 2, right? So you have to like start building that up because of course, like you said, you want your defensive lineman fresh, particularly in this system. If you got some studs, some one-trick ponies, but you could bring in and out, you know what I'm saying? You can really get to cooking in this bad boy. But yeah, I would probably say maybe end for me. If for me at 12.
Yeah, if we if Houston does that, then we can get their 12th. Yeah, I'm told you, my first 4 out of 5 people are defense. 4 out of 5 people, and then maybe it's a tackle, maybe because I think Quentin, the kid out of TCU, he'll be gone. And I'm not too high on any other wide receivers, but the other guy the only offensive guy would be an offensive lineman. I go tackle, tackle if you got a nose. I mean, there's a lot of good guys. That kid, Tuli Asasopo, I know it's like Tuli Lopo from USC. That kid's got a motor that just don't stop. You got Breezy from Clemson. You've got a couple defensive tackles, and then that you can you can go after because we need. You talked about Kenneth. You got an end. You can run around it. End. You can. He's got to run around. You can step up and then go back to where he came from, and now you bought yourself time. But when you get pressure in the pocket, straight up the middle, man, quarterback can't step up.
Yeah,
quarterback can't follow through. Quarterback don't worry about breaking a finger on somebody's helmet. All right, stepping on a knee, stepping on the ankle, twisted. There's a whole bunch of problems that a quarterback has when you get pressure in your face. So we definitely going to need to get that. Line defense. Like I said, go get those 2 tackles in free agency. Okay, settle that right now, and then you go defense. I say 4 out of the next 5 picks.
Now, I will say this. We talk about big picture plans. If I'm thinking in that war room, we want T. Higgins, then I'm moving back twice because I'm picking up as much artillery as I can get. I'm getting at 12. I'm moving back again to 7, picking up more picks, and now I'm packaging second-round picks to get T. Higgins from the Bengals, right? That solidifies my wide receiver, right? I keep my 12. And then at 12, some of the things that you guys just talked about, that's when I go and get that next guy. Let me tell you the shiny red apple that's going to be temptation, not just for Ryan Poles, but for a lot of GMs and the teams. And I'm telling you guys, from what I'm hearing, Bijan Robinson is going high in this draft.
Really? We going running back high? Okay,
Bijan Robinson. When you see a mock draft with Bijan Robinson in the 20s,
wow,
don't believe it. Don't believe it. That they're planting that information. Bijan Robinson is going high in this draft. He's going in the teams. Absolutely.
Who are the teams that you would look at, perhaps to either that are there or will make a move to get there, Shawn?
You could probably consider. Depending upon what they do. Now, this is like factoring everything. Like, I can see the Giants moving up to take him.
So you mean letting Saquon go?
I can see Baltimore, who's had a multiple set of injuries to their running backs. I can see Baltimore moving up to get him, right?
Dallas.
Jamal Williams had a really good year for the Lions.
But
they have enough wide receivers. They have the quarterback. The defense is solid. You get if he's a game changer at 18, Detroit would be fools not to take a chance, right? I don't expect Washington to take him. I wouldn't expect Green Bay to go after him. I expect Green Bay. For me, Green Bay is settling on, I think Green Bay is going to take Michael Mayer. I really do. But that depends on whether or not Aaron Rodgers stays, Because if Aaron Rodgers stays, you're getting him help offensively, in my opinion. But it's not so much who's already set. I think there are teams that will move up to get him because the buzz is, and I talked to our guy JP about this. The buzz is like somebody's going to take Bijan Rock. He's that highly thought of that if this was the draft back when LaDainian Tomlinson went high, he would go top 10.
Okay.
Wow.
He would go top 10 back then in that NFL. Today, not so much. So he drops down to the teens and he'll get grabbed probably 15, 16. And then probably, like I said, will be a team that moves up from the 20s to get him. But he is, man, beloved is a strong word, but scouts love this dude.
That'd be good,
They
man.
love this dude.
I would be happy for him to get his money. Wednesday on NBC Sports, tune in at 5:30 p.m. Under Center Podcast will be on. We had Darrington Evans on today, who's an NFL player, played for the Bears, of course, we all know last season. And that was one of the questions I asked him was about that running back bread. I'm like, do you all talk about trying to do something to where you all can get paid? Because how it's set up, we grew up running that guy's a super back. We grew up running was every we're gonna wear their ass down. We're gonna hit with this play action. And it's like, dude, the devaluation of the running back and the fact that only guys who have just taken off get a real second contract. Man, I think the NFLPA, also, of course, the league, they do running backs a disservice. You have to do something. So I'll be happy if, like you said, because even you went back to LaDainian Thompson, you could just go back to Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and think about that. Ezekiel Elliott's been in the league for what, about 7 years, somewhere around there right now?
That long?
Yeah, because he got the second contract, or he held out. But
what was that, 15? 15 draft here in Chicago. Yeah.
So, you're correct. You're right. So think about that in 7 years, it went from Zeke to where it's not a chance a running back to get drafted in the top 10. And it was an outlier when it happened to him.
Right.
But still.
4th overall in 2016.
2016.
4th overall 2016 draft. Yeah, and that's a shame. And it sucks. Like I said, I was a running back my whole career. And it just to see the value of running backs just plummet, which it gives me a cause for concern for David Montgomery. I think they're still going to want. I think his saving grace is the fact that he's a great pass protector. All right, I think that's going to be a saving grace because Khalil Herbert, as good as I think he's a great zone runner. I told both of you he's a much better zone runner in that scheme than David Montgomery, but he's not a pass pro guy at all, and you need just enough. And so that might be his saving. And he's done all the right things. Poles has talked about he'd like to sign him. He likes David Montgomery, everything he's done to this point. So that, you take that with a grain of salt, of course, when GM speak. Right. But, why not go get a Chase Brown? Or why not go get someone else you can get in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round? Pacheco was with a 7th round guy with the Chiefs. So not that they're asking him to pass block a lot, but, you can get a guy to a 10th of the cost of David Montgomery. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So that's the thing that scares me about that whole situation with him. And then Khalil Herbert steps in. And if you can get a guy who is a 3-down back, whoa! Now you're cooking with gas. If you get him in the 3rd round or late 3rd or 4th round, a guy who's now you don't have to substitute guys because when he comes in, all right, now he's gonna pass pro or it's gonna be a screen to him. All right, but
plus you keep Khalil Herbert in his best spot.
His best spot, yeah.
Because like you said, we all know when it comes to pass protection, that's an issue. Not to say he can't improve, but it doesn't seem like that's something he has a knack for. Yeah. So you keep him set up to be. Yeah, great point, Sean. You keep him as that change of pace threat, and you're good to go. You don't have to mess up the rhythm of anything that you're doing. So if I'm with you, if you get a 3-down back in the 3rd round, and I mean the worst part is, I think all of us would be like, damn, David, because that'll be what you would think if they draft a running back that high, that they're not going to really go after David Montgomery, or the price tag that they're willing to settle on has now went down because they're like, okay, we want you back. but we only give you this because we think we may have something here, which would be unfortunate, but it's how football and business is.
Welcome to the football side of business. Yeah. And I don't think they're going to take one in the third round. I think they're going to stay defense because unless they find something they may, who's on their board, who they find. And this is going to be Ryan Pohl's first draft. I know it's only second. It's his first draft with his people.
Yep.
All right. Because he just got rid of my guy, Mark Sadowski, and that crew from the old regime. And it turned out pretty good. They got 4 starters out of it. So now what's he going to do with his people? So we got to wait and see how they evaluate.
We can start putting these combinations together, right? You talked about Taylor Lewan being released from the Titans, but man, you got McGlinchey. Who's going to be on the free agent mark? Who can go to right tackle, right? So let's say you get McGlinchey at right tackle, right? And you decide to go interior in the draft, and get some young interior guys to be physical, and then try to solidify the left tackle with another veteran. You wait for some releases, a little bit later, closer to the draft. Maybe get a veteran on your bookends for the offensive line. Let your youngsters be inside and let them be physical and develop. That's a way you could go. And then if you drop back in the scenario we talked about, you end up with 4 and 12. You get Carter at 4, and then at 12, man, I would love
Johnson.
You get Paris Jones. You can go that way, or for me, I love Devon. I love Devon Witherspoon.
Oh, the kid Wright from Tennessee is the dude that a lot of people are talking about. They said he fed Will Anderson his lunch when Tennessee played Alabama. So Wright, a tackle from Tennessee, he's another dude.
I like him too. But if you go watch his Georgia game, Kirby Smart did an amazing job of confusing. I don't even think it was really him. I think they confused Hendon Hooker most of the day. Like they were having protections going the wrong way, and the blitz was coming from the other side, and it looked like it was the offensive lineman's fault. Right. And I really think it was Hendon Hooker who was being confused, and it kind of made the offensive line look a certain way. So a lot of people point out that film when they're talking about that young man you just talked about, but offensive line help.
You know who I'd like?
Defensive line help. Everything.
I'd like for them to go get that center, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, whatever his name is. They're talking from Minnesota. They're talking he's nasty. They're saying he's nasty. Dude, the more nasty people, give me a nasty offensive lineman.
I could teach you very good offensive line.
I could teach you technique. Yeah. All right, I can teach you technique. I can teach you which foot to step with. I can teach you where to place your arm or where to get your head across. I can't teach you that you want to rip somebody's God blessed head off. All right, I can't teach you that. You give me a dude like that, like Tevin Jenkins. Come on, man. You give me 3 of those guys, because usually if you just have one of those guys on an offensive line, it permeates. All right, if you get 2 or 3, come on, man. Come on. I mean, we saw Tevin Jenkins blowing people. He knocked the defensive tackle 7 yards downfield, then pancaked them just for good measure at the whistle.
Yeah. Right.
And then got up, went back to the huddle, did it again. That's the type of stuff that we want. Those are the type of linemen. Dude, you don't think that they were doing the happy dance, Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham? Like, did you see what he just did? That's 7 yards downfield on a run play. You know what I mean? And nothing illegal. It just played through the echo of the whistle. Get up, run back to the huddle. I just see Tevin Jenkins getting a lot of shouting matches and getting in people's face and all this other stuff. He was on his best behavior. He was on his P's and Q's. Good. Stay that way. Get another dude like him. Like you said, you get McGlinchey out next to him on the right side.
Yeah.
And then you draft Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt for the center.
Yeah.
Now you got 3 guys who have that mentality. Man, that means the 2 left guys, the guys on the left side, they got nothing to do but adopt that mentality, because they're going to be talking about themselves. Hey, come on, man. You drove them one yard off the ball's line of scrimmage. Why ain't he 4 yards, 5 yards downfield? What's wrong with you? All right, there's that competition in each position in those rooms. And the O-line coach is like, man, I got 3 guys pushing people 5 yards downfield. What about you 2? And it builds. And that's what I want, because, man, I just said it earlier. You give those guys, you give Justin time. Justin's like, oh, damn, you got destroyed, and still has a chance to look out here. Man.
So are we in agreement, or you guys, is it a consensus that if certain things happen, you're cool with going down to 7, trading back 2 times?
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset. It would just be you everything you said earlier as far as the amount of pressure that's on Ryan Poles, the pressure would dramatically increase because it went from you had a bird in hand because you could have a stud defensive player at 4. Let's just say 4 was the lowest that he was going to drop. You were ended up with a stud defensive player, at least a consensus stud would draft people right now. You know what I'm saying? Draft evaluators right now, right? And then you move down and you don't end up with a guy they don't have to be a Hall of Famer, but they have to be pretty good. Then it's going to be like, you did too much. You know what I'm saying? Like you're doing too much. And we all know they have a lot of holes, but you know what could cover up some stink? Game records. You know what I'm saying? Like game records, I mean, I know I'm gonna stop using his name, but like think about who used to be around Aaron Donald. Like, I mean, yeah, now when they went to the Super Bowl run and they always had like good corners or whatever, but I mean, he was out there with Leonard Floyd. You know, I'm not dissing Leonard Floyd because I wouldn't be mad if the Bears brought Leonard Floyd back to be in the wave, to be honest with you. Right. You know what I'm saying? But
1 or 2 year deal with
right, just to have enough to have bodies, people that have done it, vets who have necessarily pulled it off. You know what I'm saying? So that would bother me when it comes to Ryan Poles because you outthought yourself, in all fairness, where you're making it more difficult than what it has to be. You know what I'm saying? You got draft assets, but you still can get out of here with a Hall of Fame, potential Hall of Fame player. And it's kind of the equivalent of we're all 3 robbing a bank. Right. And one of us, we keep screaming at the one person that's still in the dang vault. And it's like, get out. We said at 3, we're out. Right. And you're still
45 seconds. We got to go. We got to go.
Get more.
But there's still more money there. There's still more money.
You're blowing the plan.
Right.
That's how I feel like.
I think you're right. Once they set the plan, stick to it. And I think that's going to be the most difficult thing because of the amount of talent, because of where they're picking. All right. They're going to have an excess amount of talent. And if you stick to the plan, if like I said, 1 to 2 and 2 to 4, I'd be happy I would probably be happiest then because I'll know we got Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. I know we got one of them. Okay. If we go to 7, all right, 7, 8, or 9, okay, it's going to be depending on the haul that we have for me to say, okay, which one am I happiest about? Okay, hold on. Who do we got now? How many picks did we get? How many? That'll be the determining factor as to how happy I am if we get down to 7, 8, or 9. Because you're going to need a haul. You're going to, and Ryan Poles will be like, no, you need to come correct, homie. You need to come. We're talking minimum 4 picks to jump up from that spot to, into at least a 4 spot.
It's funny because now I'm thinking about the pictures. Like if I'm Ryan Poles, would I rather be standing there with Peter Skoronski in his jersey like this? Or would I rather be standing there with Jalen Carter in his jersey and the number 12 pick that I flipped to get my big-time wide receiver from the Bengals? So I got T. Higgins on one side and I got Jalen Carter on the other side. That picture looks a whole lot better. Yeah. Or if it's Will Anderson and T. Higgins, that picture looks a whole lot better. So you're right. And the Banks, analogy you gave is perfect.
Yeah.
Like, dude, stop being greedy.
This
is the plan. We're out at 3 minutes. Get out. I don't care how great it looks or how much more money you're looking in the face. That's it. Stick to the plan. This is not about 2023. This is about 23 and 24 for us as an organization. Let's remember that. Let's not be impatient. Let's work the plan.
Yeah, I think it's about for the next 5 years. I think it's for the next 4 to 5, maybe even 6 years. And what Ryan Poles did, and just keep an eye out, he had a really sneaky signing. All right. And it was a guy who was with the Rams, but he was hurt a lot. That's Terrell Lewis, his kid out of Alabama, Roll Tide, Ken. This kid coming off the corner at Alabama, the edge rusher, was the real deal. He just couldn't stay healthy in LA. And this guy could be, you talk about that one-trick pony. We talk about our Mark Andersons from back in 2006. That you create a NASCAR package like the Giants did back in the day. Dude, there you go. That could be a very, very sneaky signing. If he comes up with 5 or 6 sacks, just on NASCAR packages alone.
That's
man.
Yeah, because you're saying that because two guys should have more sacks than him if he gets 5 or 6. So you should. So now we're talking about almost 25 sacks right there, without talking about scheming up sacks. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, if it hits, I mean, if it works, it works. But again, I'm an abused Bears fan, so
that's all of us, right?
All of us, man.
Lucky Lefty Chicago. We have one question from one of our followers and listeners, man. The Hart Foundation. He chimes in. Appreciate you, my brother. I like Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech. He reminds me of Simeon Rice. That's my boy, so that's a heck of a comp to comp Simeon Rice. But Tyree Wilson did have a phenomenal season. He's getting a lot of buzz. You know how you hear about young guys, but then you just think about the conference they come from?
Mm-hmm.
Like a defensive player from the Big 12? This Big 12, because we got Tommy Harris from the Big 12, but that Oklahoma defense was totally different under Bob Stoops, right? And I'm like, Texas Tech doesn't even, and that's my holdback, right? If I'm getting him, if he drops and I'm getting value and he's late first round, maybe even second round, which I doubt he gets to the second round, then I feel better about the pick. See, Tyree Wilson is the type of kid that would drop and the flipping Kansas City Chiefs will end up with him. See, that's the type of stuff that happens for winning organizations, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
They get a kid like that, Frank Clark, who was probably looking for more money. Hey, thanks, 55. We appreciate you. We got Karlaftis last year. He'll be a second-year player. We're bringing in this young guy this year. We got the big boy in the middle. Make sure his contract is straight. Here we go. It just seems like guys like Tyree Wilson are the guys that end up having buzz. The closer you get to the draft, though, the water starts to settle and reality starts to hit with a lot of war rooms, a lot of scouts, and he starts to sink in the draft, and he goes to a perfect situation like Kansas City or Philadelphia. Teams like that. So keep that in mind, especially Superback if the Bears pick up all of those in abundance of second round picks, and they can think about jumping back up into the first round since they would have been there if they didn't make the move.
That Chase Claypool.
It's coming back to bite him.
Chase better show out this year, dog.
You're right.
I'm talking. He better get close to 10 touchdowns this year. If he gets 8 to 10 touchdowns, I'm like, okay, because I don't know. I don't think we're gonna get a wide receiver in this draft at that high. That'll get us 8 to 10 touchdowns. So him and Justin Fields, dude, they better be bunking together. He better be staying at Justin Fields' house in Georgia, okay, working out with him. Justin Fields has a little Motel 6. Him, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, and my man who's probably not going to make the team, who I like,
Equimines or
not
Pettis.
No, not Pettis. The Patriots.
Oh, you're talking about N'Keal Harry.
N'Keal Harry. Like they all better be hanging out. They all better be staying at Justin Fields' house and running routes, because you saw the big step that Mooney took before he got hurt, and Cole Kmet took because they worked out with him. So they better all be staying with Justin.
I don't want to rain on your parade, but I had this discussion in shop the other day, and Chase Claypool was asked a question as far as, so what are you going to do about linking over Justin? And he says, I'm in California. Justin's not in California, Chase Claypool. Justin's in Miami and Georgia. What are you doing, sir? So he said, he said I'm California.
Well, he said he was going to be. I heard him say that he was going to be get together with Justin in the offseason.
Okay, I'm just telling you what was told to me.
So, is he at the NAACP Awards or something like that, and then going back to Georgia? I didn't even know what that was held at, but still.
Well, I do know.
Probably California.
I do know every year Chase does take about 2 weeks, and he actually goes back to South Bend and trains for about 2 weeks. He does it every year, and I think he does it kind of around like the pro day. He goes back, checks in on his guys. He stays there for a couple of weeks, and then he works out there. He's been doing it ever since he's been in the NFL. So if he keeps that trend in the months of March and April, he'll be down in South Bend working out with his crew. Let's see. This is a great question for you guys before we move to the last topic. Lilo Galante says, what's you guys' take on Cole Kmet?
I'm gonna tell you this. I think he's a little bit. I think he can be better than serviceable. Yeah. We're also in a league where this isn't like 4 or 5 years ago when it may have been like, yo, it's like about 5, 6 really good tight ends out there. I mean, it's kind of like 2. Waller hasn't really been healthy in the last couple of seasons.
Right.
If I'm even being honest, what's his name with the 49ers has been it's been Kittle. Travis Kelce.
Kittle, yeah.
Yeah, Kittle has been hurt too. So I mean, if I didn't expect, I was happy he caught some touchdowns this season. Mm-hmm. You know, I think he can they have a guy that can block and also be a threat at TE is nice. I do think they need a U. This is a draft, has a lot of tight ends in it. Yeah. They should go get a U. Hey, kid, you can't block. We don't care. Just come on, all right? Because we need you. All right. So, but as far as how I feel about Cole Kmet, I've been down on him. He did really good this year to take me off of being down on him, to answer your question, Lilo.
Yeah, I think he's maybe more than serviceable. I think he's he'll get he's perfect safety valve. Perfect safety valve, maybe a little more than that. I don't see him as the guy you catch. You know, the only reason he had a lot of touchdowns, first of all, you weren't expecting him because of the season he had the year before. And some of the times it was Justin rolling left. He cut back right. You know what I mean? And so I don't think he's a great receiving tight end, but I think he's more serviceable. He could be a little more than serviceable. But I agree with you, Ken. Go get another dude who a wide tight end, who's just straight up going to catch passes. And that'll actually help. That'll actually help Cole Kmet. He might maybe even get more touchdowns than he had this past year. Right. And the thing I like about it is that he's got Justin Fields' ear. He's got his trust, and that's the most important thing. He knows to look for him. When things start to break down, and he knows he's going to find an open hole. He did that a lot this year, and you know what? It sometimes not necessarily being a great person, but once you develop that trust from Justin, from your QB. Man, that's all. And he's not. We hadn't seen too many. I don't recall any drop passes from Cole Kmet. All right,
and he's more rugged. He's more rugged now.
Yeah, he'll run you over. He's
because that's a big pet peeve. Yeah, you got be a tight end when they're trying to tackle you. All right, in parts of physicality. Yeah,
he has. He's. You're a quarterback at 190. Okay, come here. I know I might be going down, but you're going to get the brunt of this, baby. Pow! I like it. Yeah.
So there you have it. That's a Fighting Irish fan wanting to get the update. I think he's steadily improved. I think there was a lot of disappointment his rookie season, and I think I love when I see guys that are willing to put in the work. Right, willing to put in the work. They understand who they are. Superback, you said. I think he understands who he is as a tight end. Right. I don't think he expects to be Travis Kelce by any means. I think he expects to be an impact blocker. I think you always need a second tight end that can catch the ball. That's the beauty in an offense. If you have one tight end that can catch the ball, that's one thing. But if you actually have 2 pass receiving tight ends in your offense, now you're definitely dangerous out of that 12 personnel.
Yep.
Right? Because now, you put 8-9 in the box, you go play action with a guy like Justin Fields and that running back. One of the tight ends are going to be open. At least one.
I just had it. He's the guy that if you have to. So with whoever they get as number 1 receiver, all right, Chase Claypool, you're going to have, especially you start throwing him a little more in the beginning of the season. All right, you have Darnell Mooney, who was our de facto number 1 this past season until he got hurt. You got and Velus Jones is where Velus Jones comes in. Underneath, he's the guy who say if we're going to let someone beat us, it'll be Cole Kmet. And he's the guy who's going to beat you.
He's the guy.
And that's the coach is going to be like, you know what? We couldn't cover the wide receiver 1. We couldn't double team him, and we couldn't double cover Chase, and we couldn't double cover Velus, and double cover this guy. We got to leave somebody, and I'll leave Cole Kmet, and Cole Kmet's a dude who will catch the ball, who will hurt you, because just by numbers alone, you can't cover everybody out in the routes for the most part. So I think I think that's where his role is. I think that, and he's comfortable with it.
What's the realistic? outlook, if everything goes perfect in free agency and the draft, what's the realistic outlook for the 2023 Bears?
I think you hit it at the beginning of the show. If you could, now they have a lot more holes. You got to look at how many years Detroit has been building up that roster, but I think they can get to 8 victories. And also, but see, now the Bears fan was about to pop out in me. Tennessee is weak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like this is a time to eat in the NFC. Like for instance, the Eagles. It's terrible that they have so many guys going to free agency. Where if they could just have that roster for three years, chances are they're going to win a Super Bowl because there's nobody in the NFC outside of the 49ers, and the 49ers never have a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? There's no one really that's a threat. I mean, it would be nice if the Bears were geared up better to take advantage of it, but I think 8 and 9 could be a realistic expectation, give a game. Maybe, 9 and 8. You know what I'm saying? But I think that should be with what they have. Also, I would think we're talking about Justin taking another step. Because in all fairness, if Justin doesn't take another step, that's a conversation for another day.
Right.
All right. When we talk about having the number 1 pick in next year's draft, having 2 number 1 picks in next year's draft, you know what I'm saying? I'm being honest. I would have to look at how they're implementing and using him and coaching him up. But if this is the key of what he did this year, if that's the ceiling, right? I don't think
it's the ceiling. It's a possibility.
I'm not. That's all I'm saying. I'm a Justin.
So
guy,
you say be ready for it. Don't just prepare for it, but
prepare for it.
Okay.
Yeah, be prepared for it. But again, I think he's going to take another step. That's why I'm saying 8 and 9 because I'm looking at one. He should have a better offensive line. One. All right. Before we even talk about the wide receivers, he shouldn't be getting hurt as far as because one, you aren't protecting them. And I say this to people all the time, and I don't think people really think about it. Justin Fields did not train last offseason to rush for 1,000 yards. All right. That's not what he was known for in college. All right. As far, we knew he could run, but you think he was like, man, I'm gonna rush for a G. I gotta prepare. No, he had to try to do it to win games this year. But for him to be protected, and then common sense would dictate they have to improve the wide receiver room in some fashion, right? Again, like you said, Shawn, this is a 2-year thing as far as getting to where we can really start being like, yo, what are y'all doing? Because it's still 1 year. You were 3. No, you had 3 wins this year. You know what I'm saying? To go from 3 wins and then we're like, you ain't the Super Bowl yet. It's not realistic. You're not to say that it's impossible. But that'll be crazy for something like this. And I'm not saying it's gonna happen, so please don't put that on me or whatever. But yeah, I think if you look at what Justin could do, also everyone was a rookie last year. The general manager, the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. Everyone was rookies. That should improve too. So if that takes place in this NFC, they should be able to get there and still, if they only have 8 victories, they're picking around 10, 11, 12, 13, somewhere in that vein. And then you have someone else's first round pick too. Yeah. So that would be my realistic expectation of what would happen. I would love for them to go out and at least get 10 victories next year. You know what I'm saying? Listen, content wise, baby, it'll be great. All right.
I got 10 wins. And here's why.
Wow. Okay. This is everything going perfect.
Everything going perfect. They might even be more than that, but 10 wins, and here's why. Look at this year. The Bears went 3 and on 25, right? But what about the Washington game? Okay. Darnell Mooney double clutches the ball when he's in the end. He's in the air, but he's in the end zone, ball over. Heavy catches it cleanly. That's a touchdown. That's one. What about the Miami game? All right, they lost 35-32. All right, they turned it over on downs. There's another opportunity for them to win. What about the Detroit game where Cairo Santos misses the extra point? They lose 31-30. Okay, what about the Atlanta game where the ball goes through David Montgomery's hands? It was a little high, but it went through David Montgomery's hands. They picked it, end of game. And not say they would win it, but they had the opportunity to go down. What about the Minnesota game? The Amir Marset, whatever, the guy who played for the Vikings before, right? He's instead of getting out of bounds, he wants to play hero. They strip the ball. Again, not saying they're going to win, but it extends their drive. All right. What about Green Bay? The interception at the end. Okay. That's 5-6 games right there. Had they gone, now you're looking at 8-9 wins this year when they're learning a new offense, when they got a new coordinator, when they got a whole bunch of new players. They're going into the second year. As I said earlier, you don't have to teach them the offense. They're not learning the offense. Now you refine it. Now you add crazy stuff to it. Right now you have some better chemistry with Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet and Chase Claypool, who's been here, and EQ St. Brown and N'Keal Harry, as long as he stays here. You have that connection with them. It's not learning. Now you're getting better. All right. Add who we're gonna get in the draft, add who we're gonna get in free agency. And again, I've told the story a million times. Jalen Hurts, when they did a piece on him, he said this year they were about 7-0, 8-0 at the time. It was before a Bear game, and Fox did a piece on him, and he said the very first thing he said, this is the first time I've had the same play caller for 2 consecutive years since high school when my dad was the coach. Okay, that speaks volumes. All right, we talked about all Patrick Mahomes. How many systems he's been in? One. Brady, same system. Different coaches, same system. Aaron Rodgers, same system. All right, Drew Brees back in the day, same system. Stay consistent with your system. Your quarterback will get better. And that's why I think this Bear team has a good shot. They'll take 10 wins, take the North, and they're surprised. They're going to surprise a lot of people. Hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Damn it!
My God,
Yo, he's definitely drinking a lot of that Kool-Aid. That's man. You might have. I don't know what you got in there. You got some Everclear in that bad, fella?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Some tequila? Yo, but I understand because you're looking at the NFC South and the AFC West, right? As the opponents. NFC South is a mess right now.
Mm-hmm. Tampa,
it's a mess. All 4 teams.
New Orleans,
a mess. Atlanta, Carolina,
yeah.
It's a mess. And then, you have to play Kmet. You know, you got to pay Baby Goat.
But that's it, though.
Yeah, but that's it.
I mean, and hopefully the Chargers finally figure out how to get Herbert.
They won't. They kept the same coach.
I know, right? I know.
No, they kept the same head coach.
What? See who? So who do you got? We got Russ them this year too. We got Russ. So we got all them. Okay, here I just pulled it up.
Yeah.
So we got the Broncos. We got the Raiders. All right. We got the Chiefs and the Chargers. Okay, Chiefs and Chargers away. Broncos and Raiders here. Okay. Yeah, the Raiders need a quarterback. Russ. I'm a little nervous about Russ though. Does he have a bounce back year? Because last year was horrible. Which goes to show you how difficult this offense is. You had a Super Bowl winning quarterback with receivers. He had receivers over there in Denver, and he struggled because they ran the same thing. Nathaniel Hackett, him and Luke Getsy came from Green Bay. They're running the same thing.
Nathaniel Hackett comes from pretty much the same excuse tree you can make for Eric Bieniemy. Like how responsible was he for Green Bay's offense?
Right.
Yeah, but now he brought that with him to Denver. And it was
How did it go? How did that go?
It didn't go well, which shows you that it's a tough offense to master. And when you got everybody new,
Aaron Rodgers didn't master it right away either. Remember?
Well, but Aaron Rodgers had 3 years behind Favre to sit there like the baby goat had a year.
No.
Oh, when he got the new guy. Yeah.
The new guy, because I was going to say that to you earlier when you were talking about guys staying in the same system. Remember, the pandemic helped the Green Bay Packers because Aaron Rodgers, then him and Matt LaFleur got together and started tearing some stuff and changing that playbook because initially they were butting heads.
You know, he doesn't like motion. He wants to see the picture in front of him. It's like, dude, you're a quarterback.
Right.
What are you talking about, man? Get the heck out of here. So, no, I can see the Bears settling between 8 to 10 wins. If everything is perfect, and if they miss on a few things and everything's not perfect, I still think they'll be flirting with 7 to 8 wins.
Yeah. There's just too many close games that they had this year where they had no talent. All the games I just mentioned to you, they had no talent. And Justin Fields almost took them to victory. Justin Fields can't throw the ball and catch the ball in the end zone. Yeah. Justin Fields can't run for 150 yards every single game. All right. These are things. Justin Fields can't kick extra points. All right. Yeah. These are all things that are legitimate. And again, maybe they wouldn't have won the Detroit game. Maybe they go to overtime and Detroit wins. Okay. But it gives them the opportunity to win. Or they had those opportunities, and if they cashed in on those opportunities, now you're looking at 7, 8, maybe 9 wins, and not right where I said last year at the beginning of the season, where I thought the Bears would get to. I said they're going to be 8, 9, maybe if everything goes well, 10. And you saw everything just went poop the wrong way every time. I felt like Detroit last year, like we were going to Detroit ourselves. Something was going to happen, and we were just going to screw up. Like, man, son of a gun, and it did more often than not.
Lucky Lefty Podcast. Thank you to Shawn Sierra and my guy Kenneth Davis. Once again, Kenneth Davis, you can follow him each and every week at the Under Center Podcast, NBC Sports Chicago, and then you guys are on Wednesday. And then the replay is on Thursday, right?
It replays whenever, because they
whenever they
feel. Replays, and also, I'm in the rotation for Football Night in Chicago. I'll be digital host tomorrow. Just check us out 5:30 p.m. every Wednesday. Always appreciate it.
Absolutely, my boy Superback. You're on tomorrow morning, I'm sure. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Where can everybody follow you?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can follow us on Sports Zone Chicago, Facebook, YouTube. We have our own mobile app, so go to your app store, wherever you get your apps from, download it, take us with you on the go. We also have a Roku channel, so if you have a Roku device in the house, Roku TV in the house, download it. You know how to download tiles. You downloaded you downloaded Stars. You're ready for Power Book 2, Series 3 with Tariq and Mary J and Meth, so you know how to do it. All right, do that. Check us out. We're live. We're on demand. You can check it out. You can follow me on all platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. I know, don't at me. I'm a 51-year-old TikToker, but for the show, at the Shawn Sierra, TheShawn, Sierra like Sierra Mist, the Shawn Sierra.
Thank you, everyone that chimed in and joined us for the Lucky Lefty Chicago podcast. Talking Chicago Bears. We'll be back after the combine. Yeah, when you guys watch all of the dudes running around in shorts looking pretty, that end up looking like Jane in the season with pads on.
Jerry,
looking like Tarzan this week.
Wasn't that Jerry Glanville's favorite time of the year?
But Kenneth Davis, that's the Superback, man. We bid you adieu. We'll be back next week, Lucky Lefty Chicago, for more Bears coverage after the combine. We appreciate you guys. Have a great evening, but most of all, make sure that you spin it different.